year. We hadn't. But some outlets were saying, hey, you know, he's won. The Kentucky Democratic Party was saying, hey.
Yeah, we did have that, yeah.
Yeah, this is happening. Bashir's the winner. So around that same time that Bashir's kind of being declared the victor, a woman ran on stage at the Republican night party and basically was like, hey, we just got word that Bevin has won, which just prompted a lot of confusion because everybody would...
And cheers.
and one quick cheer, like a just immediate reaction or something. People cheer.
Do we have sound of this, or do we just have this photo?
The Wonder Woman.
I can get
The
Yeah.
Wonder Woman shirt.
Yeah. Oh, well, she.
Oh, that's I didn't see that.
Let's take a listen.
Then they cut her mic.
All right, so she's clearly excited,
That is something.
but it sounds like, oh. All right, so that happened.
So we're not really sure. I don't know what else she might have said because they did. They cut the mic really quick because obviously he hadn't won. So it was like people cheer, but I think there was also just a lot of confusion because a lot of us were looking at the results saying that's definitely not what it shows. She got escorted out, and then the crowd kind of turned to sort of jeering, you know, get her out, get her out. So I guess it was some kind of prank. I'm not sure. It was very weird. It was like a weird prank. It was over within like 90 seconds. And we just went back to looking at the screens. You know?
All right, well, it added a little something to the evening, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
And, well, it's always nice to get a peek inside where the rest of us were back here at the building. All right, so, Joe, let's move now on to Andy Bashir. He, in the meantime, he's got, what, 5,000, 4,000 count lead?
Over 5,000.
Over 5,000. Sorry, yeah, by the time I left last night, it was 4,000 something, but it's up a bit. 5,000. Rightly so that he should feel as though he had won and come on and give a victory speech?
Yeah, his campaign says that he's the clear winner. In 2015, Jamie Comer lost by 83 votes in the primary to Matt Bevin, and there was a recanvass done. That didn't change the results, and at that point, James Comer basically conceded the race and said that I don't think a recount's going to change this. So for Bashir's people, they see a margin of over 5,000 votes, so they think they're the clear winner. And they're moving forward. They're holding a press conference in a couple hours. The press release said Governor-elect Andy Bashir will talk about his transition. So they're moving forward, and they don't expect that any recanvass or recounts or anything else is gonna change the results because the margin's too large.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you saw happen throughout the counties, throughout the state last night. But first, let's go ahead and take a listen to what was going on in the Andy Bashir camp last night.
In my first week in office, I'm going to rescind this governor's Medicaid waiver. We're going to give this state a brand new Board of Education, and we are going to restore the voting rights of more than 140,000 citizens. Every day, we're going to work to expand access to health care, and we are going to fight to lower the cost of prescription drugs. Health care is a basic human right, and my administration will treat it as such. Under our administration, a pension is a promise. There will be no more going after the pensions of our teachers, social workers, and first responders. They have earned that retirement. And public education will be the central priority of my administration. We are going to invest in our public schools because we believe in the next generation of Kentuckians. Our schools are the foundation of our communities. Every kid has the right to get a world-class education that opens up every door that they can walk through. And we can only provide those opportunities by ensuring that we fulfill our commitment to our teachers that are going to help lead us to that next great Kentucky. And it is a victory for the thousands of Kentuckians like her. Folks that work so hard every single day, that give back to their communities and that help their neighbors. I'm going to be a governor that is on their side.
All right, so a little different mood there. Joe, tell us a little bit about last night. We were watching maps and we were seeing the numbers come in. What was your takeaway from all of that, as far as this campaign versus the one where Jack Conway ran against Governor Bevin?
Well, what Andy Beshear was able to do that Jack Conway wasn't was get the urban areas of Louisville and Lexington to turn out and vote. Statewide turnout was 31% this year. It was projected to be 31% again, but the Secretary of State's office estimated that it was 42%, and that was heavily in, that was especially heavy in Fayette County and Jefferson County, where Andy Beshear ran up just huge margins of victory, a vote margin over Bevin that Bevin just couldn't make up. There was a 37,000 vote margin for Beshear in Fayette County, almost 100,000 in Louisville. That was, both counties, that was 3 times the vote margin that Jack Conway had in 2015. And he basically, Bevin won more rural counties, but Beshear also was able to win a number of counties in Eastern Kentucky. He was also able to win, surprisingly, 2 fairly heavily populated counties in northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
He won Kenton County, he won Campbell County. Matt Bevin did extremely well in northern Kentucky in 2015, so losing those 2 counties shows that another, you could say another more urban area where Andy Beshear really cleaned up where Jack Conway lost 4 years ago.
Let's go back now to Governor Bevin's party at the Galt House. You say once he spoke, he disappeared.
Right, yeah, he didn't do a press availability, which back in 2016, which he wasn't on the ballot, but it was a huge night for Republicans. You know, he was available after they kind of left the stage to talk to reporters, and I didn't see him. As far as I know, I don't think any other reporters got any kind of one-on-one time to ask him questions, which is why we still have a lot of questions today about, what happens now, what he's thinking about. I was able to talk to Senator Ralph Alvarado, who's his running mate, briefly, and Senator Alvarado said, that he thought there might at least be a recanvassing, which seems like a pretty logical first step to take, right? Since it's easy and quick, and just make sure there wasn't any mess up with the numbers they sent in. And Senator Alvarado basically, said that it's too close to call. We'll see what happens. That he's run several races before. He's won some, he's lost some, and for him, he said, at the end of the day, when he got up today, he's still a state senator. He's going to focus on serving his district well, and see what happens. And that for him with these races, he always thinks. He said it's not about him. It's about sort of the people who wanted he and Bevin to win, who felt like they represent a slate of values and principles that they want to see reflected in, the governor and lieutenant governor's office. So,
And you spoke with someone else.
Senate President Robert Stivers came out and did speak to some reporters briefly just about the results. He said that his staff had been doing some research on what the process might be in a really close election like this if it was contested, because, we knew from the get-go like this was a competitive race, and I guess Senate President Stivers had a feeling something like this might happen. He said that, they're still looking, like we all are, at okay, what are the fine points of what's legally expected, what the losses would have to happen. But he did say, there's a possibility that this election could go, as Joe mentioned earlier, to the state legislature, where Republicans have majorities in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, to be resolved in the end. But I think that we're at this point just kind of we're not there yet. You know, I think everyone's kind of just looking at, all right, what does Governor Bevin want to do in terms of, seeking. Governor Bevin said he's going to follow the process, and at the end of the day, he'll accept the results, that he wants Kentuckians to know that whoever is in the governor's office is the person they elected. So we'll see what happens.
Just not yet.
Just not yet.
And on a national level, beyond Kentucky, what could some of the thoughts be moving forward? We had President Trump come to town the night before the election, and is there some rumblings about what all this could mean?
Well, that was the talk of cable news last night, was that Trump came to Lexington on the eve of the election and said that you have to elect Matt Bevin. It would be so embarrassing for me if he lost, and now people are saying that national pundits are saying this is a sign of Trump's weakness, that he couldn't come in here and push Bevin across the finish line to victory. Of course, Matt Bevin is a very unique figure, and I don't know if you should draw that correlation directly, but there is the question of, since Fayette County did so well for Andy Beshear and Jefferson County, if that had the reverse effect of actually motivating the Democratic base to turn out that doesn't like Trump. There's speculation that it may have ultimately backfired, even though he got 15,000 people to go into Rep Arena. The chairman of the Kentucky Democratic Party said, well, that's fine if they waited around for 8 hours for Trump to speak. We had that many people knocking on doors during the time, which is more effective to actually win the election in Fayette County.
And of course, there's always, these days in politics, you can always look at something and people look at it one way, and then other people look at it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, President Trump had done some tweeting about the election and mentioned, that kind of suggesting, hey, the gap between Bevin and Beshear was bigger, and me coming to town helped get us to this close of a race, even if Beshear has the edge right now. He's like, I gave Bevin this bump. Mm-hmm. It would have been a clear loss, or a bigger loss without me. And I think nationally there's a lot of talk of what does this mean. Governor Bevin definitely spent his campaign highlighting his rapport with President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, really kind of going after impeachment as, something that shouldn't be happening, clearly making it obvious that he opposes anything like that. So there's been some talk, especially online, people saying, well, did impeachment politics take over the Kentucky governor's race? But I think for a lot of Kentuckians anyway, I think people actually in the state probably look at this as, I'm sure to some extent, President Trump pervades every aspect of politics these days, so I'm sure to some extent that was part of this. But Governor Bevin is a unique guy, and there were a lot of issues in this race. Teachers who had an issue with things that Bevin has said about them and in political battles over the last few years, I don't think that they were turning out because of, President Trump. They were turning out because they had feelings about things that the governor had said, the way that the governor had, used his platform over the last few years. So, this is a unique race.
And so many people voted for the other Republican candidates on the ticket, and there were so many people that voted Republican throughout the entire ballot, but on Bevin they were like, nope, not you. I'm voting for Beshear.
That's an interesting point. Yes.
Yeah. And to the point of what national figures are saying, the chairwoman of the RNC tweeted last night that Bevin was 17 points behind before Trump came. Of course, that's a fantasy. All the polls showed a close race, but they're saying that she was saying that Bevin was about to be blown out by 17 points, and Trump pulled him to the finish line and almost won. Of course, there's no polling whatsoever to suggest that Bevin was about to lose by 17 points.
All right.
Another point of speculation that I saw a lot on Twitter and stuff last night was people saying, does this mean that Senator Mitch McConnell, who's up for re-election next year, does this mean he's vulnerable if Kentucky could, we'll see what the final certified results say, but Kentucky, as from what it appears, elected a Democrat last night as governor. Does this mean McConnell's seat is in play? But again, Mitch McConnell is an institution here. He's been a politician here for decades. So I think that there's a lot of people, especially like reporters from Kentucky and people from Kentucky, voters from Kentucky, who are saying, you know, this is, don't run, you know, shouting, you know, victory, like that this means that he's vulnerable. You know, this is still.
And McConnell's not really popular either in the polls, but he's never really been popular, but he always wins because he raises a lot of money and he puts a bunch of ads on TV where the voters like him more than his opponent. So he's always kind of been behind on that, but yet he always, you know, wins. So.
But who knows? You know, a victory like this for the Democrats would be a big deal, and maybe that keeps people energized next November. We'll
Energy,
see.
right? I'm just saying we all need some energy here on this, particularly Joe, who's had 1 hour of sleep. But if you wouldn't mind running us through the process one more time, so that we all have an idea of. Andy Beshear will have a news conference today. We're thinking
Yes.
around 11 o'clock-ish.
Yes.
I'm sure that will be streamed live for, here, there, and everywhere. But moving forward, Governor Bevin has until Tuesday, is that right, to
He has
request?
until Tuesday to request a formal recanvass. If he does that, it would be done 2 days later, November 14th. That's next Thursday. And we'll see if that changes the totals at all. Again, in 2015, they did a recanvass statewide, and the Republican primary did not change the results at all. So a recount, it seems like a recount, there would be a higher chance of some change in the vote total, but a recanvass certainly seems unlikely that there would be a 5,000 vote swing, but
Yeah.
we won't really see that unless it's requested and done.
But one way or the other, we'll have a governor in place by December 10th.
December 10th, do we have to swear in a governor? Don't know who yet. We'll see.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, both of you. Really appreciate it. Morgan Watson and Joe Sonka, part of the political team here at the Courier-Journal, and we will definitely be broadcasting the Andy Beshear news conference live here on the Courier-Journal at 11 a.m. this morning. Thanks for watching. I'm Kirby Adams.